The morning sky above Seoul turned dark without warning. It was not clouds. It was not an eclipse. It was something far worse. Admiral Taewon stood on the bridge of the orbital station and watched as 10,000 alien warships appeared from nowhere. They filled the space around Earth like a swarm of metal insects. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had ever built. Each ship carried weapons that could burn cities to ash in seconds. Taewon was 63 years old. He had spent 40 years in the military. He had seen wars on Mars. He had fought pirates in the asteroid belt. He had buried friends and enemies alike, but he had never seen anything like this. His hands did not shake. His voice did not tremble. He simply looked at the impossible sight and said one word to his crew: "Stand by." On Earth below, 7 billion people looked up at the sky and felt fear. The ships were visible even during the day. They blocked the sun over entire continents. Children cried. Parents held them close. Old people prayed to gods they had forgotten. And in the great halls of power, leaders gathered in panic. Then the message came. It arrived on every screen. Every phone, every computer on Earth. A face appeared that was not human. The creature had gray skin stretched tight over a skull that was too long. Its eyes were black and empty like deep holes in the ocean. When it spoke, the voice was cold and carried no emotion at all. "I am High Speaker Cole of the Galactic Dominion. Your species is unknown to us. Your world is small. Your technology is primitive. These facts do not matter. What matters is this. You have 30 solar days to surrender all military vessels and weapons. You will then become a tribute world. You will provide labor and resources to the Dominion. You will serve us until we decide you are no longer useful." The creature paused. Its black eyes seemed to look directly at every person watching. 200 species have received this message before you. None have refused. None have survived resistance. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Your choice is simple. Surrender and live as servants. Refuse and die as fools. You have 30 days. The transmission ended. Silence fell across the world. In the Seoul Advanced Research Institute, a young woman named Hannah watched the message 3 times. She was a physicist. She studied energy and matter and the secrets of the universe. But now she studied the alien's face. She looked at the ship designs visible in the background. She noticed the flicker of light that suggested shield technology. Her mind was already working on the problem. On the orbital carrier Indomitable, Captain Yuna stood among her crew. She was only 32 years old, young for her rank. She had earned her position through brilliance, not time. While others panicked, she was already thinking. The alien had said 200 species had faced this choice. That meant 200 species had failed. Why? What had they done wrong? What would humanity do differently? In a hidden base beneath the mountains of Korea, Commander Day received the message like everyone else. He was a soldier, a veteran of the Mars insurgency where he had fought in tunnels and craters for 3 years. His body carried scars from battles most people had forgotten. He looked at the alien fleet and felt something that surprised him. He felt excited. Not because he wanted war, because he knew that humanity had been training for war since the first human picked up a rock to defend their family. 10,000 years of conflict had made humans into something special, something dangerous. The aliens did not know this yet. The emergency session of world leaders began within hours. Presidents and prime ministers, dictators and kings, all gathered through secure channels. Fear dominated the room. Some leaders wanted to surrender immediately. They argued that survival as servants was better than extinction. They showed data about the alien fleet. 10,000 ships. Weapons beyond human understanding. Shields that seemed impenetrable. The math was simple. Humanity could not win. General Hayen listened to all of this in silence. He was 78 years old, the oldest military commander still serving. His hair was white. His body was thin, but his eyes were sharp and his mind was sharper. He had fought in 3 wars and won them all. He had buried 2 sons who had followed him into military service. He knew the cost of war better than anyone in the room. When the fearful leaders finished speaking, Heen stood up slowly. The room went quiet. "I have heard your words," he said. "You speak of survival. You speak of serving these creatures so that we may live. But you have not asked the right question. The right question is this: what kind of life is that?" He walked to the center of the room, his old bones creaking but his spine straight. "They say 200 species surrendered before us. Did those species survive? The aliens said we will serve until we are no longer useful. What happens then? I will tell you what happens. They throw us away like broken tools. Surrender is not survival. Surrender is slow death." "Good duh." A young diplomat spoke up. "But we cannot win." "The numbers are impossible," Yoon smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had seen impossible things become possible through blood and will. Humans have never cared about impossible odds. We have fought wars against disease and won. We have fought wars against nature and won. We have fought each other for thousands of years, and somehow we are still here. We are not a species that surrenders. We are a species that fights." He looked around the room at the frightened faces. "They expect us to kneel. They think we are like the others. They do not know what humans do when we are cornered, when we have no escape. When the only choices are death or submission, they do not know that we choose a third option. We fight back. We hurt them so badly that they regret ever coming here. And if we die, we make sure they remember us forever." The room was silent for a long moment. Then, one by one, the leaders began to nod. Not all of them. Some still wanted to surrender. But most of them felt something stir in their hearts. Something old. Something human. Ambassador Sumi stood up. She was a diplomat, trained in words and negotiations. But she was also the daughter of soldiers. She understood what Han was saying. "Then we need a plan," she said. "We have 30 days. We need to make them count." Admiral Taewan's voice came through the speakers. He was still on the orbital station, still watching the alien fleet. "I already have ideas," he said. "They think we are weak because we are small. They think we are stupid because we are new. Let them think this. Let them believe we are already defeated. And when they are confident and careless, we will show them what humanity can do." Captain Yuna spoke next. "I have been studying their ships. They have weaknesses. Every machine has weaknesses. We just need to find them," Commander Day added his voice. "And I have soldiers who are ready to fight. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now, just give us the order." General Hayan looked at the screen where the alien message still lingered. He thought about his sons, who had died in earlier wars. He thought about the grandchildren he would never have. He thought about the future that these aliens wanted to steal from humanity. "Then we begin," he said. "Not because we hate them, but because we love our home. We will show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. We will make them remember this day as the day they made their greatest mistake." Outside, the alien fleet waited. They expected surrender. They expected fear. They expected humanity to do what every other species had done. They had no idea that in the buildings and bunkers below, humans were already planning their destruction. The countdown had begun. 30 days to save everything or lose everything. And humanity chose to fight. The Great Deception began on the second day. Ambassador Sumi sent a message to High Speaker Cole requesting a meeting. She dressed in formal clothes and spoke with a trembling voice. She acted afraid. She acted weak. It was all a performance. "We wish to discuss the terms of surrender," she said through the communication channel. "But there are many details we do not understand. Our people are frightened. We need time to explain everything to them. We need your patience." Cole looked at her with those empty black eyes. He had seen this before. Every species begged for more time in the beginning. Every species eventually broke. "You may have your meetings," he said, "but do not test our patience. The deadline does not change." Sumi bowed her head in fake submission. "Of course, High Speaker, we are grateful for your mercy." When the transmission ended, she allowed herself a small smile. The aliens believed what they wanted to believe. They wanted to see a scared and beaten species. So that is what she showed them. Meanwhile, the real work happened in the shadows. Dr. Hannah worked without sleep. 3 days after the ultimatum, her team captured a small alien probe that had been scanning Earth's population. They brought it to her laboratory in pieces. She spread the parts across her table and studied every wire, every crystal, every strange material she had never seen before. Their technology is advanced, she told General Han through a secure channel. But it is not magic. It follows the same laws of physics that we know. And I have found something interesting about their shields. She pointed to a diagram on her screen. Their shields operate on a very specific frequency. They block energy weapons perfectly. They stop missiles and projectiles. But they have a gap. A tiny window where certain electromagnetic pulses can pass through. Can we exploit it? Han asked. Hannah nodded. If we modify our nuclear weapons to release a specific M-burst at the moment of impact, the shields will let the explosion through. Their ships will have no protection. How long do you need? 2 weeks. Maybe less, if I do not sleep at all. In the asteroid belt, far from Earth and far from the alien fleet, Admiral Taiwan worked on his own secret project. The Dominion watched Earth's orbit closely. They monitored every ship that moved near the planet. But they did not watch the outer system. Why would they? No primitive species would think to hide their fleet in the cold darkness between planets. Taiwan moved 60% of Earth's military vessels to hidden positions among the asteroids. The ships traveled slowly, running silent, using no communications that could be detected. It took 2 weeks to complete the movement. By the time it was done, the Dominion believed that Earth's fleet was smaller than it actually was. They're arrogant, Taiwan told his officers. They have conquered so many worlds that they cannot imagine anyone fighting back. This arrogance will be their death. Captain Yuna spent her days studying every piece of information about the Dominion that humans could find. She accessed old radio signals that had traveled through space for centuries. She analyzed the alien transmissions. She built a picture of the enemy. What she found disturbed her deeply. They have done this before, she told the command meeting, but it is worse than we thought. The species that surrendered to them did not survive, not in the long term. The Dominion used them for labor. They worked them to exhaustion. And when they were no longer useful, they were eliminated. Every single one. Surrender is not survival. It is a slower death. The room was quiet. Some leaders had still hoped that surrender might save their people. Now that hope was gone. Commander Day did not attend meetings. He was too busy training soldiers for the impossible. In the deep bunkers beneath the mountains, he prepared infiltration teams. They wore experimental stealth suits that could hide them from alien sensors. They trained in zero-gravity combat. They learned to fight in the close spaces of ship corridors. He recruited 2 people who would change the course of the war. The first was Jin, a pilot who had been discharged from the military after a failed mission killed half his squadron. Jin blamed himself. He had lived with shame for 3 years. Now he saw a chance to make things right. I will fly you anywhere, Jin told Day, even into hell itself. The second was Nari, a young woman with strange purple hair and fingers that moved faster than eyes could follow across keyboards. She had been a hacker once, a criminal. She had broken into the networks of 3 governments just to prove she could. The military had captured her and offered her a choice, prison or service. The alien systems are different from ours, she said, after studying the captured probe. But different is not impossible. Give me access to their command ship and I will turn their own computers against them. The days passed. The Dominion waited. They sent messages demanding progress on surrender talks. Ambassador Sumi responded each time with more delays. There were translation problems, she said. There were cultural misunderstandings. There were religious leaders who needed to be convinced. Every excuse bought more time. On day 20, Cole's patience began to crack. You are stalling, he accused Sumi. She widened her eyes in fake surprise. We would never disrespect the Dominion. These things simply take time. Our species has many nations, many languages, many beliefs. We are trying to unite them in acceptance of your generous terms." It was a lie. But it was a lie that appealed to Cole's pride. He wanted to believe that humanity was struggling to accept defeat. He wanted to believe that they were fighting among themselves over how to surrender. "5 more days," he said. "Then we take your answer by force." Sumi bowed. "We understand, High Speaker. We will be ready." When the transmission ended, she sent a coded message to General Haeun. "We have 5 days. Is it enough?" Haeun consulted with his people. Hannah's modified weapons were ready. Taewon's hidden fleet was in position. Day's infiltration teams were trained. Yuna had identified the weak points in the alien formation. "It is enough," Yuna replied. "Tell them we are ready to give our answer." On day 29, the alien fleet moved closer to Earth. They expected to receive humanity's surrender. They expected to begin the occupation. They expected another easy conquest. Ambassador Sumi appeared on the communication channel one final time. She was no longer trembling. Her voice was no longer weak. She stood straight and looked directly at Cole with eyes that burned with defiance. "High Speaker Cole," she said, "you demanded our surrender. You gave us 30 days. We have used every moment of that time wisely. We have prepared our answer with great care." She smiled. It was not a diplomatic smile. It was the smile of a predator. "Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not serve. We will not bow. You have made a terrible mistake coming here. You have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. Now you will learn what humans do when we are threatened. Now you will learn why we have survived so long on a world that tried to kill us every day. Now you will understand fear." She paused for one heartbeat. "Welcome to Earth. We hope you survive the experience." The transmission cut off. For a moment, there was silence in the alien command ship. Then Cole gave the order to attack. He did not know that he was ordering his fleet into a trap. He did not know that the humans had been preparing for this moment. He did not know that the hunters were about to become the hunted. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The first shots came from the Dominion fleet. Beams of burning light struck 3 orbital stations around Earth. Metal melted. Air escaped into the void. 40,000 humans died in the first 3 minutes of the battle. Their screams were swallowed by the silence of space. High Speaker Cole watched the destruction with satisfaction. This was how it always began. A show of force. A demonstration of power. Soon, the humans would beg for mercy. Soon they would accept any terms just to stop the killing. But something strange happened. Next, the visible human fleet began to retreat. Ships scattered in all directions, running from the battle like frightened animals. Cole smiled. It was always the same. Inferior species always ran when they saw true power. "Pursue them," he ordered. "Destroy them all." His fleet spread out to chase the fleeing human ships. It was exactly what Admiral Taewon wanted them to do. From the darkness of the asteroid belt, the hidden fleet emerged. 60% of humanity's military power appeared behind the Dominion Armada in a perfect ambush. At the same moment, the retreating ships stopped running and turned to fight. The aliens were caught between 2 forces with nowhere to run. "All ships," Taewon commanded, his voice calm as ice. "Fire." Missiles launched from 1,000 human vessels. But these were not ordinary missiles. Dr. Hannah's team had modified each warhead with special electromagnetic pulses. When they struck the Dominion shields, something impossible happened. The shields flickered and failed. Nuclear fire burned through alien hulls like paper. On the Dominion command ship, Cole watched his fleet begin to die. Ships that had never known defeat exploded in chains of fire. 200 vessels gone in the first minute, 500 by the second. His officers screamed reports of damage, of losses, of systems failing. "This is impossible," Cole whispered. "Their weapons should not penetrate our shields." But the weapons did penetrate. Again and again. The sky around Earth filled with burning alien wreckage. Captain Yuna stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, directing the battle with precision. She had studied the alien formation for weeks. She knew their weak points. She knew where their command ships were hiding. She knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum chaos. Target the supply vessels, she ordered. Cut their fuel lines. Isolate their squadrons. Her strategy worked. The Dominion fleet was designed to fight as one overwhelming force. When Yuna's attacks broke their formation into pieces, they did not know how to adapt. Each squadron fought alone, confused, unable to coordinate with the others. While the main battle raged, a small ship slipped through the chaos. Jin flew the infiltration craft with hands that did not shake. Behind him, Commander Day and his strike team prepared their weapons. Nari sat in the corner, her fingers dancing across a portable computer. Their command ship is ahead, Jin reported. Shields are down. I can get us inside. Do it, Day said. Jin pushed the engines harder than they were designed to go. Warning lights flashed. Alarms screamed. He ignored all of it. He aimed for a damaged section of the alien hull and punched through the weakened metal. The ship crashed into a cargo bay, throwing everyone forward. Go, go, go! Day shouted. The team poured out of the crashed vessel, weapons raised. They met alien soldiers immediately. The Dominion warriors were tall and strong, with forearms and thick armor. They expected the humans to be easy prey. They were wrong. Day moved like a ghost. His knife found gaps in alien armor. His bullets struck with perfect accuracy. The aliens had not fought in close combat for thousands of years. They had forgotten how brutal it could be. But humans had never stopped fighting each other. Close combat was in their blood. Left corridor, Nari called out, reading the alien ship's layout from her computer. Third door. That is their central computer. The team fought through waves of defenders. They lost 2 soldiers at the first intersection, 3 more at the second. But they did not stop. They could not stop. Everything depended on reaching that computer. Jin stayed with the crashed ship, holding off alien reinforcements with a mounted gun. He had promised to fly them anywhere, even into hell. Now he was keeping that promise. Hurry, he called over the radio. I cannot hold them forever. Day kicked open the final door. The computer room was vast, filled with strange machines and glowing screens. Alien technicians fled at the sight of the blood-covered humans. Nari, do your work. She ran to the central console and plugged in her device. Her fingers moved faster than ever before. Alien code filled her screen. It was different from human programming, but logic was logic. Patterns were patterns. She found the command pathways. She found the control systems. She found exactly what she was looking for. I have access to their entire network, she said with a grin. What would you like me to break? Outside, the battle continued. Admiral Taiwan pressed the attack without mercy. Every minute, more alien ships died. 2,000 Dominion vessels burned in Earth's orbit, then 3,000, then 4,000. The sky filled with fire and debris. Captain Yuna identified the flagship where Cole commanded his fleet. Concentrate all fire on that ship, she ordered. Bring it down. Dozens of human vessels turned their weapons on the flagship. Missiles struck from every direction. The great alien ship shuddered and began to fall apart. The command bridge is intact, Yuna reported. Boarding teams, move in. Day received the order. His team had already taken control of critical systems. Nari had disabled the ship's internal defenses. Now, they moved toward the bridge. Stepping over the bodies of fallen aliens, they found Cole standing alone among the wreckage of his command center. His officers were dead. His screens showed only static. His great fleet was dying around him. For the first time in his long life, he knew fear. Day pointed his weapon at the alien leader. High Speaker Cole, you are now a prisoner of Earth. Your war is over. Cole looked at the human soldier with his empty black eyes. How? He asked. You are primitives. You are nothing. How did you do this? Day smiled grimly. We are human. This is what we do. The battle lasted 6 more hours. When it ended, the Dominion fleet was broken. 6,000 alien ships drifted as burning wreckage in Earth's orbit. The survivors fled into deep space. running from a species they had thought would be easy prey, but victory had cost humanity dearly. Half of Earth's fleet was destroyed. 2 million soldiers were dead. Orbital stations that had taken decades to build were gone forever. General Haon watched the final reports come in. His old face showed no joy, only grim satisfaction. They had won, but the war was not over. The Dominion would return. They would bring more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. This was only the beginning. He recorded a message and broadcast it toward the retreating alien fleet. Tell your masters what happened here. Tell them that Earth did not surrender. Tell them that we fought and we won. Tell them that we remember every human who died today, and we will have justice for each one. Tell them we are coming. The hunted have become the hunters, and we will not stop until this is finished. In the darkness of space, the surviving aliens heard the message. They carried it back to their empire, back to their leaders, back to the species that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. The Dominion had made an enemy they did not understand. Now, they would learn to fear that enemy. Now, they would learn to fear humanity. The first year of the war changed everything. Humanity did not wait for the Dominion to return. They struck first. Admiral Una, promoted after the Battle of Earth, led the offensive fleet into enemy territory. The hunters had become the hunted indeed. Their first target was a world. It's called Tor Prime. It was a slave planet where millions of aliens worked in mines and factories for Dominion masters. The native species, the Torak, were small and gentle. They had surrendered to the Dominion 3,000 years ago. They had known nothing but chains ever since. When human ships appeared in their sky, the Torak were confused. Ships always meant more suffering. Ships always brought new masters with new demands. But these ships were different. These ships were fighting the Dominion. Admiral Una's fleet destroyed the orbital defenses in 2 hours. Commander Day led the ground invasion. Human soldiers stormed the slave camps and broke open the gates. They told the Torak that they were free. The Torak elder looked at Day with eyes that had seen too much pain. "Why?" he asked. "We are strangers to you. Why do you risk your lives for us?" Day thought of Earth. He thought of the ultimatum. He thought of what would have happened if humanity had surrendered. "Because no one should live in chains," he said. "Because someone had to say no. And because now that we have started, we will not stop until everyone is free." The Torak wept. In 3,000 years, no one had ever fought for them. No one had ever cared whether they lived or died. But these strange creatures from a distant world had crossed the stars. Just to set them free, they joined the fight. By the second year, the rebellion had spread. News of Tor Prime reached other slave worlds. Other conquered species heard that someone had finally stood against the Dominion. They heard that humans were winning battles that should have been impossible. Ambassador Sumi traveled from world to world, building alliances. She was no longer pretending to be weak. She spoke with the fire of someone who had helped defeat an empire. 12 species joined what she called the Free Worlds Coalition. They were not the strongest. They were not the largest. But they were united by something powerful. Hope. Humanity did not win at Earth because we were stronger, she told each new ally. We won because we refused to accept defeat. Join us. Fight with us. And together, we will tear down everything the Dominion has built. The war grew larger every month. Battles raged across 100 star systems. Dr. Hannah's weapons technology spread to the Allied fleets. Commander Day trained special forces from 6 different species. Nari built a network of hackers and spies that reached into the heart of Dominion territory. In the 3rd year, the coalition attacked the Dominion homeworld itself. The planet Velner had never been invaded in 10,000 years. It was the center of the empire. It's protected by the largest fleet ever assembled. Admiral Una studied the defenses for 3 months before the attack. She found a weakness in the orbital patrol pattern. She designed a battle plan that required perfect timing from 100 different ships. It was the most complex military operation in human history. The battle lasted 9 days. The coalition lost thousands of ships. But they broke through the defenses and landed troops on the surface of Velnar. Commander Day led the ground assault. The fighting was savage beyond anything he had experienced. The Dominion threw everything they had at the invaders. Elite soldiers, automated weapons, chemical attacks. The streets of Velnar's capital ran with blood from a dozen different species. On the 5th day of ground fighting, Jin flew a supply mission to Day's position. He carried ammunition and medical supplies that the troops desperately needed. Enemy fighters intercepted him before he could reach the landing zone. Jin was surrounded. His ship was damaged. His weapons were empty. He had two choices: surrender or die fighting. He chose a third option. He aimed his crippled ship at the largest enemy fighter and accelerated to maximum speed. The explosion took out 5 Dominion vessels, cleared a path for the supply convoy behind him. Day received the news in the middle of battle. Jin was gone. The pilot who had flown them into hell had finally made his last flight. But his sacrifice saved 200 lives and turned the tide of that day's fighting. Remember him? Day told his soldiers. Remember why he died? And make sure it was worth something. They pushed harder. They fought through the capital street by street, building by building. Nari crashed the Dominion's communication network, leaving their forces blind and confused. By the 9th day, the central government district was surrounded, but victory came with terrible costs. Admiral Tae-1 died in the final space battle, his flagship destroyed while covering a refugee convoy. He had saved 10,000 civilian lives with his sacrifice. His last words were simple: get them to safety. That is an order. The Dominion High Command requested a ceasefire. Their empire was collapsing. Species they had enslaved for millennia were rising up everywhere. Their fleets were broken. Their armies were defeated. They had no choice but to talk. General Haon received the ceasefire request in his hospital. Bed on Earth, he was 83 years old now. The stress of the war had destroyed his health. Doctors said he might have months left, perhaps only weeks. But his mind was still sharp as a blade. They want to negotiate, his aide said. They are willing to discuss terms. Yoon shook his head slowly. I remember what they offered us. Surrender or die. No negotiation. No mercy, no terms. They wanted to break humanity and use us until we were gone. Now they want to talk because they are losing. Coughed, and there was blood on his lips. But his eyes burned with unbroken will. Tell them this: unconditional surrender. Nothing less. They will release every slave. They will pay for every crime. They will answer for every species they destroyed. No negotiations, no terms. Total surrender, or we continue fighting until their empire is ash. His aide hesitated. That is very harsh, General. They were harsher to us. They were harsher to every species they conquered. They showed no mercy when they were strong. They deserve no mercy now that they are weak. This is justice. Dr. Hannah visited him that night. She had spent 5 years building weapons of destruction. The work had changed her. She no longer slept well. She saw the faces of the dead when she closed her eyes. Did we do the right thing? She asked him. All those deaths? All that destruction? Was it worth it? Hyun took her hand in his thin, cold fingers. Freedom always costs blood. The question is whose blood? If we had surrendered, we would still be dying, just slower. Now we die fighting. We die free. And when it is over, no one will ever threaten Earth again. The Dominion High Council received Earth's demands. They debated for 3 days. Some wanted to continue fighting. Some wanted to flee to distant systems. But in the end, they realized the truth. They had lost. They sent their response. Unconditional surrender accepted. The war was over. The Dominion, an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, had fallen to a species they had considered primitives. Humanity had done the impossible. Now came the hardest part: building something better from the ruins. The surrender ceremony took place on Earth. In the same city where the ultimatum had first been broadcast 6 years earlier, Representatives from 4,000 star systems gathered to witness the end of the Dominion. It was the largest gathering of alien species in galactic history. "Hi!" Speaker Cole walked slowly to the podium where the surrender documents waited. He was old now, aged by years of captivity and defeat. His black eyes had lost their cold emptiness. Now, they held something new: understanding. He had learned what it meant to be powerless. He had learned what his empire had done to others. Admiral Una stood across from him, representing humanity and the Free Worlds Coalition. She wore her military uniform, decorated with medals from 100 battles. Her face showed no triumph, no joy, only tired resolve. She had lost too many friends to feel happy about anything. Cole signed the documents in silence. The Dominion Empire officially ceased to exist. "I have a question," Cole said quietly. "Before I am taken away, I need to understand." Una nodded. "Ask. We gave you no chance. We offered only slavery or death. We were powerful beyond your imagination. How did you find the courage to refuse? What made you different from all the others?" Una thought about the question for a long moment. She thought about Admiral Taiwan, who died protecting strangers. She thought about Jin, who flew into certain death with a smile. She thought about the millions of humans who gave everything so that Earth could remain free. "We were not different," she said finally. "Every species has courage. Every species dreams of freedom. The only difference is that we had nothing left to lose. Your ultimatum made sure of that. You told us we would be slaves if we surrendered and dead if we fought. So we chose to fight. When those are your only choices, fighting becomes easy." Cole nodded slowly. "We made a mistake. We should have offered you partnership instead of slavery. We should have shown respect instead of contempt." Yes, Una agreed. "You should have. But you did not know how. 10,000 years of conquest taught you nothing except how to take. Now you will learn how to give." Cole was taken away to face justice. He would spend the rest of his life working in the memorial gardens that honored every species the Dominion had destroyed. Every day he would tend flowers that grew from soil mixed with the ashes of civilizations his empire had erased. It was not revenge. It was remembrance. 3 days after the ceremony, General Hand died. His heart simply stopped beating in the middle of the night. He was 83 years old. He had held on just long enough to see the victory he had spent. Everything to achieve. His funeral was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as his body was carried through the streets of Seoul. Soldiers from 12 different species marched in his honor. Former slaves who had never met him wept for a human who had helped set them free. His final words were inscribed on the Human Victory Monument that stood in the center of the city. "We did not fight because we hated our enemy. We fought because we loved our home. And we learned that home is not just one world. Home is wherever beings live free." The years that followed were years of building. The Dominion was dissolved. Each conquered species received independence. New governments formed. New alliances were made. The galaxy that had known only fear and submission for 10,000 years began to discover something else: cooperation. Admiral Una became Earth's first galactic ambassador. She spent her days negotiating trade agreements and settling disputes between former enemies. It was boring work compared to commanding fleets in battle. But she understood that peace was harder than war. Peace required patience. Peace required forgiveness. Peace required building something that would last. Commander Day retired from military service. He had lost his right arm in the final battle on Velnar, but he refused to replace it with a machine. The empty sleeve reminded him of what war really cost. He returned to Earth and became a teacher at the military academy. "I train soldiers," he told each new class. "Not because I want you to fight, but because I want you to know when fighting is necessary and when it is not. War is the last option. But when all other options fail, you must be ready. You must be willing to sacrifice everything. And you must never forget why you fight." Dr. Hannah led the effort to share human technology with the former slave worlds. Weapons that had been designed for destruction were adapted for construction. Ships that had carried soldiers now carried medicine and food. The research institute where she had built tools of death became a center for life. She never stopped seeing the faces of the fallen when she closed her eyes. But now, she also saw the faces of children who lived because of her work. It was a balance she learned to live with. Nari disappeared after the war. Some said she had traveled to the edge of the galaxy, searching for something unknown. Others said she had uploaded her consciousness into the galactic network, becoming a digital ghost who watched over everything. The truth was simpler. She had found a quiet planet where no one knew her name and lived a peaceful life far from the spotlight. But sometimes, when tyranny raised its head somewhere in the galaxy, systems would mysteriously crash. Communications would fail. Secrets would be exposed. And people would whisper about a guardian in the network who protected the innocent and punished the guilty. They called her the Ghost of the Coalition. Nari never confirmed or denied the stories 20 years after the war. A young alien child sat with her grandmother on a world that had once been a slave colony. The sky was blue now, not choked with factory smoke. Children played in fields that had once been work camps. Freedom had transformed everything. "Tell me about the humans," the child asked. "Were they really as strange as the stories say?" The grandmother smiled. She had been born a slave. She had spent the first 40 years of her life knowing nothing but chains and suffering. Then the humans had come, and everything had changed. They were strange, she admitted. They laughed when they were scared. They cried when they were happy. They fought each other almost as much as they fought their enemies. They were messy and loud and sometimes very foolish. Then how did they win? The child asked. How did they beat an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years? The grandmother thought about this question. She thought about the stories she had heard. About Admiral Taiwan holding the line. About Jin flying into fire. About General Han refusing to surrender even when all hope seemed lost. They won because they did not know they were supposed to lose. Every other species saw the Dominion and believed resistance was impossible. The humans saw the same fleet and thought it was a challenge. They did not calculate whether they could win. They simply decided that they would not lose. She pulled her granddaughter close and looked up at the peaceful sky. When the darkness came for all of us, the humans were the ones who lit the fire. They did not do it because they were special. They did it because they refused to believe that anyone was meant to live in darkness. They fought for themselves, but they also fought for us, for everyone. And when they won, they did not become the new masters. They set us free and asked for nothing in return. Why? The child asked. Why would they do that? The grandmother smiled. Because that is who they are. They are human. Never forget what that means. When the galaxy tried to break them, they broke the galaxy instead. And then they helped put the pieces back together in a better way.